It is my distinct pleasure as the president of the Colgate Debate Society to welcome all of you to the 2019 Colgate event, the grand final of the 2019 Colgate event. This is the 10th edition of a very special and successful tournament, and this year we have over 120 teams and over 120 participants in over 40 teams, representing over 20 institutions in U.S., Canada, and the UK. Some special thank yous before we get started. So firstly, to my co-convener, Ethan Stowe, for all the hard work over the past weekend. Colgate Debate Society, all the wonderful members of the Debate Society who made this event possible. A special thank you to Team McLaughlin, we're very happy to have joined us here for his support of this wonderful event. And finally, last but not least, our administrative advisor, Edie McPherson, whose hard work has made everything possible this semester. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to the chair, Francesca, to begin the final round of this.
I'd like to invite a big round of applause for all the teams that have been successful in getting to the Colgate final. Pascal, on the time, my favorite pronouns are she or they. I'll introduce themselves. My Gap.
Gavin.
Kira, Shirley.
Razak.
Obviously, you were about to panel in Paul. Be around to get private pronouns for the teams if they wish to display them as one from OO, Hadley speaking first,
And Gordon speaking second, Ethan.
Speaking first from CD, Chris, today. Speaking second, CD, Alan,
Ethan speaking first, Ethan back.
Thank you. And there are any other questions? I'm about to list it. Make the case stand in the name.
Just because you were born on a certain part of the earth, you were born on a different soil than someone else, doesn't mean that you have a different level of cultural or economic affinity to a different nation. We believe citizenship is something that is incredibly arbitrary and not something that should restrict your opportunities to travel and be in a different place. There are two questions you have to ask yourself in this thing. First, is citizenship arbitrary and should people have the right to change the countries in which they identify? Second, are there actual practical implications that they can get from changing citizenship, irrespective of the things that opposition might tell you? Infrastructural problems that cannot be solved except through changing your citizenship that is mutually exclusive to our side. Okay, first a bit on the model because it's a pretty complex approach. So, we believe each person, when they're born, they have the citizenship of the country in which they're born in as soon as they are born. They have the capacity to trade that with other countries. This is going to be, if you want to trade a spot with another person in a different country, we would provide international transportation. We would fund the kind of plane flights or whatever kind of things that you want as long as it is consented by both parties. Also, both parties have to consent. We'll give lawyers to both sides to kind of prove that they signed a contract. I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be a mutually consensual relationship. Finally, we're going to record the system so nobody can steal your citizenship. It's going to be pretty clear cut. Nobody can take it from clarification.
Yes.
Sure.
Will this replace current citizenship immigration levels or just be on top of it?
On top of it. Okay. Any other clarification? No. Let's get into this. Okay. So, a bit of contextualization that is necessary for this debate. First, the birth law, right? Let's be clear that you do not consent where you were born, right? You do not choose the country in which or the soil in which you were born in. You don't choose the parents that gave birth to you. You didn't consent to being born in the first place. Why is this important? Because the place in which you were born determines many aspects of your life, right? The culture you're going to be surrounded with, the education system you will live in, the type of healthcare you will have, the people around you, the religion that you will identify with, the language you will speak, and the closeness or proximity to relatives that you may care about. This is incredibly important. We're going to explain this later in our case about the practical benefits, but keep in mind that you do not consent to being born. Secondly, why a market, right? We believe a market is a mutual beneficial arena in which both parties can benefit from this kind of scenario. Where deals only occur when both parties benefit and both parties have something to gain, or have something to gain from this deal, right? But also keep in mind that there's a competitive aspect to this, right? So like if you are a poor person wanting to sell your citizenship, there are people in other countries who will like race to the top to pay you as much money as possible, right? This is mutually exclusive, provides the most benefits to people who would otherwise want to sell their citizenship. But also a bit of rebuttal to what opposition might say about the rich will be buying the good spots. Let's be clear that both parties need to consent to this, and that like it is beneficial for the poor person because they get a shit ton of money when they otherwise wouldn't. The comparative that they would be stuck in their countries as a poor individual, whereas in the all of the comparative, they may move to a like slightly worse off country, but have a lot more capital and money in that country and be better off than they otherwise would be. Let's also be clear that they are free from coercive sources. That this product cannot be stolen from you, and everyone has the ability to leave where they're from. Okay, given that, let's be clear that given that citizenship is arbitrary, the connection based on the connection that is not based on geographic birth is more important. Because on their side, the affinity that you have to your country is based on the soil in which you were born in. I told you about all the other things like language and religious customs. Why is this important? Because it means you have a principal right, you should have the capacity to change your citizenship to identify with a different place. They grant the autonomy not to be isolated in a place they don't identify. Okay, what are the benefits and how many maximus have you on? No. First, the cultural and social fabric of this new country that you want to go to, right? Like, let's be clear that you may want to move to a country which the language is a lot easier for you to learn because you grew up with it at home. Like, my dad would probably be better off if he had sold his citizenship when he was born here to go back to Egypt and have a better life here because you have more social and political capital than he does here, being a low-income individual. Second, let's be clear that people care about culture, the type of society they live in, right? Whether you want a more conservative or liberal place that like identifies with your beliefs and you feel comfortable sharing your ideas, right? But also let's be clear that like you want to be in a place in which you have a community feel, and you feel identified and tied to the people which you are living with. You're not isolated or alienated from them and called the other or raghead like my mom was called back home. These are things that are incredibly important to these individuals, and if citizenship is arbitrary, we believe they should have the capacity to move where they're from, to be comfortable where they are. Because let's be clear, the happiness one receives is based on recognition and perception. If you're in a society that perceives you to be valuable as one of them, you're a part of their religion, part of their community, that the language you speak is one that is recognized within that country, that probably makes you be perceived as more valuable than in a different country, right? Second, we believe that it provides the individual much more autonomy than they otherwise would have, right? Because it gives them the freedom to move that is absent on their side. Because let's be clear what the alternative is. There are legal constraints that exist on opposition that regardless of how much money you may have in a country that doesn't allow you to move, you can't move because of the infrastructural barriers that immigration policies have on you. This is the only way for many people to actually leave their country and be more autonomous. Finally, let's be very clear about the economic benefits that one receives, right? Because different countries have different infrastructural benefits that are absent each other, right? For example, one can be like the health system in another country. You may be super rich in a country that just doesn't have a good healthcare system, but you can't access a better healthcare system in a different country because of like immigration restrictions. You should be able to use your money to go to a different country and get that citizenship to save your life. Second, with education, right? We believe that like some countries have like infrastructure for education isn't as high as it could be in another country, and even if you have like a lot of money, you probably can't still can't get as good of an education than to a different country. If you have money, you should be able to do that. If we're going to labor markets and why that's important, I'll back up. Just go for that.
Okay, so when you are like okay with someone buying something, that implicitly means you're okay with some people not being able to afford it. How do you think that attitudes toward other forms of immigration would change when you have this form of immigration in place?
So I think on either side, immigration is going to be looked at something that is negative. Like conservative people exist in both worlds. Are probably going to be more restricted to immigration in either world. You only get the mutual exclusivity of allowing poor people to sell their citizenship to get access to a better quality of life in other countries on our side. Finding the economic benefits, because let's be clear that labor markets are different in different countries, right? There are jobs in other areas that may be more suited to your skill set that are just not equipped in your country, right? There are specialized markets for like tech or like development that you may be better at that your country just doesn't have the infrastructure to provide for you. If you have the money to buy citizenship from a different person in another country, you should be able to apply your skill set in a different country that allows you to benefit. Also, but like maybe like you want to start a business in another country, you have like some capital, but your country just doesn't allow you to do that. We think that like you should be able to start a business and benefit yourself in another country if you have that capacity. Why is all of this important? Because given like the 2 minutes of analysis I gave as to why you don't choose or consent to the place you're born in, all of these restrictions keep you from living the most optimal life exists on their side. The only way that you can give someone the benefits of having a different citizenship is by allowing them to start. Councilor.
I'd like to speak out about my speech, my opposition, and that.
We think that when people would like to change their citizenships, that we absolutely support the freedom of movement, irrespective of people's needs in the first place. We also think that their motion would create an undue incentive on people to be giving away citizenships that would be valuable for them, even if it's not in their best interest to actually be relocated. I'm going to be breaking this down into talking a little bit first at the beginning about how we think that the citizenship, we are trying to change citizenship should be driven by governments rather than by the free market on the other hand, the benefits of the first and the harms of the latter, and much of American houses. So we think that citizenship should be determined by governments when people are deciding if they would like to acquire citizenship of a different country. We think that this looks like rather than their proposal up in their world it being like a direct transaction between two people. We think that instead we would like people to be applying to different nations and being like, oh, I would like to reason over here, I would like to lay down my roots and join this place. I think it looks like investing time where they go through this, being able to validate yourself as a member of this society. Like not only someone who like is the show is being like motivated by cultural ties or by something that they feel like socially comfortable, which like is a very important statement where you would like to stake your life in and live. But we also think that it has to do with like proving that people to be a part of the direction that this nation is going to take. We think that this is an important part of how people should be buying into citizenship because on their side what happens, obviously already kind of embedded in the order that I partner, is that when instead of having sort of like the government give an arbiter who is able to be a citizen, then instead of just have people purchasing a right to citizenship, because we have people seeing the citizenship as like the ends itself rather than a commitment to the nation. We think that we see people buying for what it can benefit them. We see people moving only because they're going to purchase their nature place with better education, with better job prospects. We don't necessarily think that the people who are going to be able to afford maybe transition to who are going to be people motivated by cultures they outline to. We think that's going to set them up like modifying what a nation can provide them. And so on our side, what we think it is better about the system that we're supporting is that the citizens are buying into the government as like a nation that they would like to participate in. We think that this looks like buying into not only what the nation can give them, but them being like, oh yes, I would like to maybe go to this nation, or I agree to pay taxes, I agree to be a part of the social structures that are pursuing this. We also just think that citizenship for people talking about like diversity within nations. We think that when citizenship is predicated not on your ability to buy your way into your oh, you want to be a part of this nation to the nation itself. You were appealing to the government and reaching the standard of whatever society we're trying to create. We think the perception that this creates for other people is this citizenship is like legitimate and earned. people who are in crisis and need our help into society. What we think this looks like on their side of the house is that you have an expectation that the market will provide. You have an expectation that people have an ability to buy out of bad scenarios and things like this. We think this decreases any political will to change asylum or immigration patterns that are barriers to these people right now. We think that when nations see the government model that there is a market available, we just get out somehow. We don't see where the accountability is being pushed as on the government, which is where it should be. We don't think it should be a matter of people being able to assert their will in the market in order to obtain citizenship when that citizenship means their life. I'm going to pivot more specifically to harms of obtaining your citizenship through the free market and sort of what we see there. We think specifically when I talk about how the pricing is set, we think that attractive states where you do see these ins as commodified bonuses of citizenship, and these are going to be hard states buy into it, while they have never been into it, but people who don't have means aren't able to buy into new nations where they're able to access understand the healthcare or education or things like this. We don't see this kind of ability happening. Instead, what we're seeing is that people are impoverished people are going to be, if they are say living in a fairly upwardly mobile state and they do not have means, they're going to be selling their citizenship to people who see this as a place that they're able to actually break into. We see it so often that some of those lucrative nations to move to are ones where it requires already an influx of capital in order to be able to advance yourself at all. It requires access to social circles or political systems or different educational opportunities. We think that therefore the people who already have means are going to be the ones who are able to take over and commodify nations when this free market exists. We think that the people who are harmed by this are poor individuals who are systematically unable to actually advance themselves in these societies and wherever they try to obtain citizenship. And instead you have people, because of the incentive to just try to obtain hard cash, we think that you're going to see people selling their position in another nation in order to go to wherever else someone was previously. And we don't necessarily think that an influx of cash directly is going to translate to better resources, to a place that you are more rooted to. We think that it's probably more likely that it's better for you to continue being a part of whatever nations are born to, because regardless of whether or not it is arbitrary, I think necessarily it is easier for people to root themselves in a place where they are mutually engaged with the productivity of the society as opposed to being a whim of a market that does not care about their life. So for all of those reasons, we're very much.
I don't know about you all, but I feel like the counterprop that we just heard sounds a lot like current immigration. I think that the mutual exclusivity does not exist on the upside insofar as they don't give us structural reasons to believe that immigration reduces, which is something that the DLO hinted at in the POI, and I'm sure we'll hear in a sandbag in the next speech. But in terms of the ways in which we actually have immigration occur in the status quo, I think that we see it as particularly flawed. Why is this so? We think that if current immigration buys into the validity of that the birth lottery is not arbitrary, that because you were born somewhere, you have a right to exclude people from that society from which you were born. I think that this is incredibly arbitrary insofar as recognizing that immigration is only taking the best and brightest of who they think deserves to be in that society. I think this rubs directly against the principle that we seem to agree with on opening half, which is that people should not be restricted to the places in which they live and should not be excluded from nations that were arbitrarily given the right to be there, right? We think that people are born with the right to be able to go anywhere they please because they did not consent to where they live. I think the idea that people should be giving them tests to see if they're culturally fit to join a nation is absurd and runs against the principles that we uphold. I think on this idea of the perception of legitimacy, it's just buying into a xenophobic narrative that says that you should be able to test to see if we think you're worthy of being in our country that we were arbitrarily given a slot in, right? I think what should be instead determining the ways in which we're able to go into societies is creating markets that allow both people to mutually benefit by trading money for citizenship and vice versa.